In 2008, long before anyone could imagine how strange our world would become, Sylvia Browne made a prediction that still sends shivers down the spine of those who've read it. She spoke of 2026, when humanity would face something so unusual that it would change not just our way of life, but the very way we understand reality itself. She didn't talk about war or natural disasters. She talked about something that would creep into our daily lives without us even noticing. Now, as 2026 draws closer, many are beginning to wonder, was Sylvia Browne really warning us about what's happening right now? The spiritual woman. Born in 1936 and raised in a deeply religious Catholic family, Sylvia Browne always believed she was different. From a young age, she claimed to see and hear things others couldn't, visions, voices, and messages that seemed to come from another realm. Whether people believed her or not, there was no denying that she had a rare presence. For decades, Sylvia became a household name, especially among those who felt lost, grieving, or searching for meaning beyond what traditional religion or science could offer. Even her harshest critics admitted she had an unusual gift, the ability to touch people's deepest emotions. Some saw her as a guide, others dismissed her as a fraud. But millions of people found comfort in her words, because what she said didn't just sound mystical, it felt personal, almost like she was speaking to the hidden fears and hopes that many kept buried inside. What keeps her name alive today isn't just her spiritual insight, but the eerie accuracy of some of her predictions. In her 2008 book, End of Days, Sylvia wrote about a mysterious illness that would sweep across the world in 2020. She described it as a severe pneumonia-like sickness that would attack the lungs and the body, appear suddenly, and then vanish, only to return again 10 years later. At the time, most readers brushed it off as just another dramatic prophecy. But when COVID-19 struck in 2020, Sylvia's words resurfaced like a warning no one saw coming. People began pulling dusty copies of her book off their shelves, reading those same few lines with wide eyes. News outlets, talk shows, and social media were flooded with one question: how could she have known? The timing, the symptoms, even the panic, everything she wrote seemed to fit. For some, it was pure coincidence. For others, it was proof that Sylvia had seen something far beyond human understanding. Even people who had never heard of her before started buying her books, looking for clues about what might come next. But along with that comfort came a chilling realization. If she was right about 2020, what about the rest of her predictions? Especially the one she made for the year 2026, the year she said would test humanity in ways far deeper than any illness or disaster ever could. When the pandemic passed, the fear didn't fade. People began wondering whether 2020 was just the beginning, and whether the events of the 2022 were leading us towards something bigger. Sylvia had warned that this decade would mark a spiritual turning point, a time when the world would begin to lose its direction, not through explosions or wars, but through quiet, invisible shifts happening all at once. She spoke of a world growing faster than people could emotionally handle. Technology would advance beyond understanding. Trust in leaders would collapse. Families would drift apart even while living under the same roof. People would stop listening to each other. Sylvia described it as a spiritual drought, a time when faith itself, not just in religion but in life and goodness, would start to fade. People would become tired, numb, unable to find meaning in what once gave them joy. They'd fill their lives with noise, screens, and distractions, trying to escape the quiet truth inside, that something was missing. The 2026 crisis. Among all the predictions Sylvia Browne made during her lifetime, the one about the year 2026 stands out as the most haunting. Unlike the typical apocalyptic prophecies that speak of fire in the sky or cities sinking beneath the waves, Sylvia's warning was quiet, almost invisible. She didn't describe the collapse of the physical world, but something far deeper and more personal, the collapse within the human spirit. She wrote that 2026 would mark a turning point, a time when people would begin to feel as if life itself had lost meaning. A strange heaviness would fall over society. People would move through their routines, yet deep down, they would feel empty, disconnected, and unable to explain why. Sylvia wasn't talking about ordinary sadness or mental fatigue. She described it as a global numbness, a quiet erosion of the human soul. What made her words truly disturbing was her insistence that this crisis would not be obvious. The world, on the surface, would look normal. Technology would thrive, governments would function, and daily life would appear steady. Yet beneath that illusion of calm, humanity would be breaking down from within. Sylvia warned that this would be humanity's greatest test, not a war fought with weapons, but a silent battle for the soul. Only those who stayed spiritually awake, who held on to their faith and sense of inner purpose, would withstand the emptiness that was coming. Sylvia warned that technology would play a role in this change, not as the cause, but as the tool that would speed it up. She believed that humanity's greatest danger wasn't war or disease, but the quiet loss of meaning. The human soul, she said, would start crying out in silence, while the world kept getting louder. She also believed that this inner crisis would be mirrored in the natural world. According to her, the earth responds to the state of the human spirit. When humanity loses its balance, the planet begins to reflect that imbalance. In her writings, she described strange weather patterns, unpredictable storms, and seasons that seemed to forget their rhythm. Rain would fall where deserts once stood. The winds would feel different, charged with something that made people uneasy. Science would try to explain it all, but, as Sylvia warned, the data won't capture the meaning. These were not just environmental changes. She said they were spiritual alarms. As 2026 approaches, many have begun to notice that her words don't sound as strange as they once did. Animals behaving oddly, plants dying for no reason, sudden changes in climate, all of these, to her followers, are signs that the earth is trying to speak. It's as if nature itself is warning humanity to wake up before it's too late. But perhaps Sylvia's most unsettling warning was about a new kind of war, not between nations, but between faith and technology. She saw a time when machines would begin to replace what once came from the human heart. People would start trusting algorithms more than intuition, relying on data instead of wisdom, and seeking comfort from screens instead of prayer. Decisions that once came from compassion and reflection would be handed over to code and automation. She didn't oppose technology. She saw its benefits, but she feared that as society became more digital, the human spirit would fade. People would have access to everything, knowledge, medicine, entertainment, yet feel emptier than ever before. What was missing could not be downloaded or manufactured. It could only be found through silence, reflection, and connection with something higher. According to Sylvia, 2026 would be the breaking point, the moment when humanity must choose between living with soul or living without it. A world where convenience replaces compassion and speed replaces stillness. A world where artificial intelligence begins to answer the questions that once belonged to conscience and faith. And finally, she described a vision of the future that many found chilling: a world where cities no longer feel like places of freedom, but quiet, invisible prisons. There would be no bars, no guards, no visible chains, only a web of technology that tracks, records, and gently controls. Over time, Sylvia said, the human spirit would begin to shrink. Cities would become too clean, too perfect. People would live close together, yet feel completely alone. Those who still sought truth, intuition, or faith would be seen as strange, even inconvenient. The city, she wrote, will become a cage without bars. And the saddest part is, most people will not even remember what freedom used to feel like. The silence covers the world. Sylvia Browne warned that by 2026, one of the most dangerous forces in the world wouldn't come from war, nature, or technology, but from silence. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the silence of those in power. She believed that as confusion spread and people began searching for guidance, they would turn to leaders, political, scientific, and even spiritual, hoping for truth and reassurance. But instead of finding direction, they would only hear carefully rehearsed words, speeches without meaning, and promises that sounded more like echoes than guidance. According to Sylvia, this silence would be worse than lies. It would create a void, a growing emptiness between leaders and the people who depended on them. She described a time when leaders would stop leading, not because they vanished, but because their voices no longer carried truth. Their words would sound hollow, detached from reality, while real decisions would be made quietly behind closed doors. This quiet dishonesty would not spark anger at first, it would spark fear. People would begin to sense that something was deeply wrong, that the very systems meant to protect them no longer served them. Institutions like governments, health agencies, and the media, once symbols of trust, would start to feel distant and cold. Slowly, that sense of safety would fade. People would question not only their leaders, but everything they once believed in, even their own instincts. She said it wouldn't happen overnight. It would come gradually, like a slow leak in the roof, a few drops at first, easily ignored, until one day the whole ceiling gives way, and by then, the damage would already be done. When truth disappears, Sylvia warned, morality begins to erode. People lose their sense of direction. Right and wrong become blurry. Rules stop mattering, and fear begins to rule. And once fear takes control, people stop thinking for themselves. They stop questioning. They follow not out of trust, but because they are afraid to stand alone. In Sylvia's writings, 2026 wasn't just about external turmoil, it was about the silent collapse of integrity, both in leadership and in the human heart. But in her vision, there was a moment, a trigger that would change everything. She didn't describe it with technical details or grand symbolism. She simply called it a moment that will stop the world in silence. It would come suddenly and without warning. It wouldn't destroy cities or cause explosions, but it would shatter people's sense of security. Sylvia said this event would not bring chaos immediately. It would bring confusion first. Governments would scramble to respond. Experts would appear on screens, offering explanations that didn't add up. Questions would multiply, but answers would remain unclear. Panic would slowly grow as people realized that no one truly understood what was happening. This, she said, would be the breaking point, the moment humanity would begin to lose its balance. Faith would weaken, fear would spread, and confusion would seep into every level of society. After that, everything would begin to move faster, emotionally, spiritually, even technologically, as if the world had been pushed into a new and unfamiliar rhythm. People would withdraw, isolating themselves or surrendering to despair, while others would cling desperately to any belief that gave them hope. A quiet awakening. Yet Sylvia also saw light hidden in that darkness. She believed that out of the fear and exhaustion, a quiet awakening would begin. When everything else starts to fail, she said, the human soul starts to remember. People would begin to crave simplicity again, love, faith, kindness, and truth. In her vision, these weren't just abstract ideals, they were the things that would keep humanity alive. As systems collapsed and trust in technology faded, people would begin to look inward and upward. They would turn back to God, to prayer, to each other. It wouldn't happen all at once, and it wouldn't be easy. It would begin in quiet ways, a family reconciling after years of silence, a stranger offering help without expecting anything in return, someone who hadn't prayed in decades, whispering their first honest prayer. Sylvia described this as the world's spiritual reset, millions of small awakenings happening at the same time, forming an invisible network of light in a darkened world. People who once felt lost would begin to find purpose again. Those who had lived behind screens would rediscover the beauty of human connection. It would not be fast, and it would not be painless. But through that struggle, humanity would begin to heal. She believed that 2026 would not only test the world, but every individual soul. It wouldn't be a punishment, but a moment of truth, when all distractions fall away, and each person must face who they truly are. The masks we wear, wealth, status, reputation, would lose their meaning. What would remain is the raw truth of the Spirit, either anchored in faith or adrift in emptiness. Sylvia warned that this spiritual test would quietly divide humanity, not by religion, politics, or race, but by choice. Some would return to faith, humility, and compassion. Others would harden their hearts and cling to pride and control. This division wouldn't be visible, but it would be felt in how people treat one another, in the energy of communities, in the growing contrast between peace and unrest. For those who had quietly nurtured their faith, Sylvia said, protection would come not necessarily from external events, but from within. They would remain calm while others panic, hopeful while others despair. The ones who prepared their souls, she wrote, will stand because their strength does not come from this world. Then came one of her most mysterious predictions, a revelation from the sky. Sylvia didn't describe it as a weapon, a natural disaster, or an alien encounter. She simply said it would be something everyone would see, few would understand, but all would feel. Something that would challenge the limits of human explanation. It wouldn't bring destruction, but it would change everything, the way we see the universe and our place within it. Some would see it as a divine sign, a reminder that we are not alone, that something greater is watching over us. Others would react with fear, unable to accept that life might be more mysterious than they believed. But for those who were ready, she said, this moment would bring peace, not comfort, but clarity. The peace of knowing that nothing happening is random, that even in chaos, there is design. Sylvia called this moment the beginning of the end of confusion. After years of silence, fear, and uncertainty, she believed this revelation would remind humanity that we are never truly forgotten. And despite all her warnings about darkness, control, and collapse, Sylvia Browne ended her vision not with despair, but with hope. She believed that faith, not institutions, not leaders, not technology, would be the only true refuge in the storm. Faith in God, in goodness, in the resilience of the soul. She wrote that no government would save us, no invention would fix what's broken inside. The only thing strong enough to carry us through would be faith, the quiet, unshakable trust that even when the world feels like it's falling apart, there is still meaning, there is still light. In her final message, Sylvia reminded humanity that survival isn't just physical, it's spiritual. The ones who endure will not be the richest or the most powerful, but those who remember how to pray, how to forgive, and how to love. Those who keep the flame of hope alive when everything else turns to shadow. For her, 2026 was never about the end of the world, it was about the awakening of the soul. She wrote, "When the world trembles, faith will rise. The soul anchored in truth will not fall, it will shine." Not only Sylvia Browne, but Edgar Cayce also warned us a year of awakening and transformation. The Awakeness Year. Edgar Cayce earned his most famous moniker, the Sleeping Prophet, because of his purported ability to fall asleep atop books, awakening with full retention of the facts and illustrations recorded therein. Later, this skill transformed into the ability to diagnose and recommend treatments for illnesses while in a trance-like sleeping state. Cayce foresaw some intriguing possibilities for 2026 that just might come to pass. While skeptics dismiss many of Cayce's prophecies, his supporters point to the accuracy of some of his predictions from decades past. The future is hard to predict, but Cayce's visions for 2026 give us plenty of food for thought about what may be in store just a few short years from now. The year 2026, according to Cayce, marks a pivotal moment in human history. It's described as an epoch where a collective awakening occurs the world. He believed that by 2026, humanity would experience a significant spiritual awakening, leading to a deeper connection with our inner selves and a greater awareness of our interconnectedness with all living beings. This prediction resonates with the increasing interest in mindfulness, meditation, and holistic well-being practices in our modern society. As scientific and technological advancements have dominated our collective focus, many have found themselves feeling increasingly disconnected from a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. That is what Edgar Cayce saw long ago, and he believed that 2026 is the perfect time for everyone to awaken. We all need to seek out ways to reconnect with their inner selves and find greater fulfillment in life. Edgar Cayce also spoke about the awakening that people must experience after leaving this world. He told, "After death, we may enter a region that is void of love, life, and light, void of everything. For some, this region is approximately their wish come true. Here they are, truly alone with themselves. For some souls, this is a pain that is unbearable. In the absence of truth, love, gentleness, and kindness, some souls fill the void with an irrational and unbelievable amount of pain and fear. It is so dark in the realm of outer darkness that the darkness hurts and panic grips them without knowing why. There are various degrees of darkness to this realm, and it is darker and denser at the center than at its outer fringes. The closer we are to the outer edges, the more interaction there is with others in the realm. The closer to the center, the darker and more painful is the solitude. Those who find themselves in outer darkness cannot travel across this dimension. They must grow through the levels of this realm. After death, one may find themselves in a particular degree of darkness that most closely corresponds to the degree of the absence of love in one's life. Outer darkness is not a punishment. It is a region which operates lawfully for the benefit of those who are there. This region is not a realm which was created for any soul to experience, but one which came about as a consequence of the negative activity of souls in creation. So great has been the desire for self, so monumental across time and space has been the selfishness of some of God's creatures, that this realm is the creation or manifestation of their own collective activities. Outer darkness and the reality with which it is associated were created and are held in place by collective self-interest. Thing happens during the spiritual awakening process. Spiritual awakening is something you will almost certainly experience this year. Therefore, Edgar Cayce encourages all of us to prepare for this event by understanding what will happen during this process. Stage 1. The dark night of the soul. What's a spiritual awakening? Again, it's a process that involves different stages, including the phase known as the dark night of the soul, where individuals may experience intense inner turmoil, despair, confusion, and a sense of loss of meaning and purpose. Symptoms of spiritual ascension can include questioning one's beliefs, values, and identity, which may lead to a deeper understanding of oneself and their connection to the universe. This transformative process, which includes stages such as the dark night of the soul, can be triggered by significant life events such as the loss of a loved one, a major life change, or a spiritual crisis. Signs that you may be experiencing the dark night of the soul include feeling lost or disconnected from yourself and others, questioning your beliefs and values, experiencing a sense of purposelessness or nihilism, feeling intense emotional pain, anxiety, or depression, struggling with addiction or destructive behavior, feeling a sense of spiritual emptiness or disconnection. Stage 2. The awakening. The awakening is a stage in spiritual awakening where an individual begins to experience a profound shift in consciousness and awareness. It is a time of self-discovery where one may feel a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. This stage can be triggered by a spiritual experience, a deepening of one's spiritual practice, or a newfound sense of purpose and direction. As you navigate the awakening stage, you may experience a stronger sense of intuitive guidance that can lead you towards spiritual experiences and a deeper understanding of your purpose. Signs that you may be experiencing the awakening include feeling a sense of inner peace, joy, or bliss, experiencing synchronicities or meaningful coincidences, feeling a connection to nature or a higher power, becoming more compassionate and empathetic toward others, feeling a sense of purpose or calling, having intuitive insights or psychic abilities. Stage 3. The integration. Integration is a stage in spiritual awakening where an individual begins to integrate their new insights and experiences into their everyday life. It is a time of balance and integration where one may feel a sense of inner harmony and coherence. This stage can be triggered by a desire to live a more authentic and purposeful life, or by a need to align one's values and beliefs with their actions and behaviors. Signs that you may be experiencing the integration include feeling a sense of inner balance and harmony, being more mindful and present in your daily life, aligning your actions and behaviors with your values and beliefs, feeling a sense of empowerment and self-confidence, cultivating healthy relationships and connections with others, living a more authentic and purposeful life. Stage 4. The expansion. The expansion is a stage in spiritual awakening where an individual begins to experience a deeper sense of connection to the universe and all living beings. It is a time of transcendence where one may feel a sense of unity, consciousness, and interconnectedness with all things. This stage can be triggered by a deepening of one's spiritual practice, a desire for personal growth and transformation, or a sense of spiritual mission or calling. Signs that you may be experiencing the expansion include experiencing a sense of oneness with the universe, having profound spiritual experiences or insights, feeling a sense of awe and wonder about the mysteries of existence, developing a heightened sense of intuition and psychic abilities, feeling called to serve and make a positive impact on the world. Stage 5. The transcendence. The transcendence is a stage in the spiritual path of awakening where an individual transcends the limitations of the ego and experiences a sense of unity with the divine. It is a time of ultimate transformation where one may feel a sense of enlightenment or spiritual liberation. This stage can be triggered by a profound spiritual experience, a deepening of one's spiritual practice, or a sense of completion or fulfillment of one's spiritual path. Signs that you may be experiencing the transcendence stage include feeling a sense of oneness with the divine, transcending the limitations of the ego, and experiencing a sense of unity consciousness, feeling an expansion of your spiritual life, a sense of enlightenment or spiritual liberation, experiencing a deep sense of inner peace and contentment, letting go of attachment to the material world, feeling complete or fulfilled in your spiritual journey. After reaching the transcendent stage of spiritual awakening, many individuals may wonder what to do next. It's important to remember that spiritual awakening is an ongoing process, and the journey doesn't end with the attainment of enlightenment or spiritual liberation. In fact, the transcendent stage is often just the beginning of a new phase of spiritual growth and development. Some suggestions for what to do after spiritual awakening include continuing to deepen your spiritual practice, serving others, and living a life aligned with your newfound insights and values. Key signs of spiritual awakening, and if you have these signs, might be you are experiencing a spiritual awakening. One of the first signs of spiritual awakening is heightened intuition. Intuition is often described as an inner knowing, a subtle voice or feeling that guides us without conscious reasoning. Imagine moments when you suddenly just know the right path to take, or when you understand something without needing to analyze it. These instances become more frequent and pronounced. You might make decisions based on a feeling or a hunch, which often are remarkably accurate and beneficial. This heightened intuition keeps you in tune with your inner voice, which speaks from your true self, free from overthinking and external influences. The noise of everyday life dims, allowing you to hear the wisdom inside you all along. As you experience this shift, your intuition becomes a source of creativity and inspiration. You may discover new solutions to problems or feel inspired to take paths you hadn't considered before. Trusting this inner guidance can be empowering, leading to a deeper understanding of yourself and your purpose. Increased empathy and compassion is the second sign. You may gain a deeper empathy and compassion as you journey through a spiritual awakening. Suddenly, the boundaries between your emotions and those of others might seem blurred, allowing you to feel what they feel with a heightened sense of understanding and sensitivity. You might genuinely experience the ebbs and flows of emotions that others are going through. This increased empathy can extend to all living beings, people, animals, and the environment. You become more at one with the subtle expressions of nature and the silent voices of animals, sensing their unspoken stories and needs. Alongside empathy, your compassion also grows. This might manifest in small acts of kindness, like offering a listening ear to a friend or helping a stranger in need. Or it could inspire more significant changes in your life, such as volunteering for causes you care about or making lifestyle choices that are more considerate of the planet and its population. This increase in empathy and compassion is a sign of your heart opening and your consciousness expanding. You start to see the interconnectedness of all life, recognizing that the well-being of others directly impacts your own. As enriching as this heightened empathy and compassion can be, looking after yourself is important. Being deeply attuned to the emotions of others can feel overwhelming at times. Setting healthy emotional boundaries helps you maintain your emotional well-being. The next sign that you need to focus on is desire for meaningful connections. A key aspect of experiencing a spiritual awakening is the desire for deeper, more meaningful connections in your life. This shift often begins as a growing dissatisfaction with superficial interactions and a hunger for relationships that offer genuine depth and authenticity. You may find yourself longing for conversations beyond the mundane, seeking to connect on a level that nourishes your soul and aligns with your newfound understanding of the world. As you embark on this journey, the nature of your relationships may begin to change. You might gravitate towards people who share your values and perspectives, or challenge you to grow and think in new ways. You might seek out those who understand and respect your journey in your friendships, offering support and wisdom. In romantic relationships, you may desire a partner who supports and participates in your spiritual growth. Even in professional settings, you might find yourself drawn to work that feels more aligned with your values and allows for authentic expression. This shift can also mean letting go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. Recognizing that some connections might hinder your journey is an essential part of this process. It's about finding balance and ensuring that your social circle reflects and supports your spiritual path. Changing priorities is also a special sign. During a spiritual awakening, one of the most noticeable changes is your priorities and values. You might find yourself reassessing what truly matters to you, leading to a significant shift in how you view and interact with the world. You'll begin to value personal growth, meaningful relationships, and enriching experiences over material possessions. This realization can be liberating, freeing you from pursuing material gains and allowing you to focus on what genuinely enriches your life. As personal growth climbs higher on your list of priorities, you might invest more time and energy in activities that nurture your mind, body, and spirit. This could include meditation, yoga, reading, or creative hobbies. The joy in these activities often comes from the inner peace and self-discovery they bring. Relationships also take on a new significance. You value deeper connections with others that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and support. These relationships provide a sense of belonging and offer a space for mutual growth and sharing life experiences. Experiences themselves become more valuable than possessions. Travel, learning new skills, or spending quality time with loved ones might become more important. These experiences enrich your life in ways that material items cannot, providing lasting memories and a sense of fulfillment deeply rooted in living a meaningful life. Let's continue with feeling a sense of unity. A symptom often experienced during a spiritual awakening is a deep-seated feeling of unity or oneness. It connects to a larger, universal energy, being in harmony with all forms of life. You might experience moments where you feel deeply in tune with nature, sensing a sacred kinship with the trees, the sky, the ocean, and every living creature. In your interactions with people, you may recognize that everyone, regardless of their background or life story, shares the same fundamental desires for love, security, and happiness. This realization can foster empathy and compassion as you begin to see reflections of yourself in others. Judgments and barriers fade, replaced by an understanding of the universal human experience. You might also become more aware of how your actions impact the world. This awareness can lead to more mindful, conscious living, where your choices are guided by a desire to contribute positively to the collective well-being. Last but not least, it's experiencing moments of bliss. A spiritual awakening often brings with it unexpected moments of bliss and joy. These experiences can feel like bursts of pure happiness from deep within and often occur without any apparent external cause. These moments of bliss can catch you by surprise. You might be engaged in a mundane task or sitting quietly when suddenly overwhelmed by immense peace and happiness. This isn't the kind of joy that comes from external rewards or achievements. It feels more intrinsic, as if you're tapping into a deep well of contentment within you. This bliss is often accompanied by feeling connected to something greater than yourself. It's as if, in that moment, you're experiencing a deep truth about life and your place in the universe. These experiences can be deeply moving and transformative, offering a glimpse into being free from worry, stress, or negativity. These experiences can be incredibly rejuvenating. In the aftermath of such bliss, you might feel more energized, optimistic, and at peace with yourself and the world around you. It's a reminder of the potential for joy that resides within us all, waiting to be uncovered. What's a spiritual awakening? Being spiritually awakened means that an individual has had a profound shift in their understanding of themselves and the world around them. This awakening often comes after a period of feeling disconnected, lost, or unfulfilled in life. Interestingly, some individuals report experiencing physical symptoms, such as a fever, during their spiritual awakening, signifying a kind of intense inner burning away of old beliefs and patterns. Spiritual awakening can happen suddenly or gradually, and it often involves a change in perception, a deepening of self-awareness, and a newfound sense of connection to a higher power, even amidst internal conflict. Spiritual awakening can take many forms and can be experienced in different ways by different people. Some common signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening can include a greater sense of empathy, compassion, and love towards others, an increased ability to live in the present moment, a deeper connection to nature and the universe, a heightened awareness of synchronicities and signs, and a sense of inner peace and contentment. Ultimately, being spiritually awakened means that an individual has come to a new level of understanding and awareness about themselves and the natural world. It's through this ascension process that you realize your potential and find the ability to change your life profoundly. In other words, they've had a spiritual ascension. Now, it's important to understand the difference between awakening and ascension. While spiritual awakening refers to the internal shift in consciousness that an individual experiences, leading to a profound change in their understanding of themselves and the world, ascension, specifically 5D ascension, signifies an evolution beyond the physical reality into a realm of higher spiritual enlightenment and awareness. This spiritual ascension, often referred to as 5D ascension, signifies a shift from the three-dimensional physical reality to a five-dimensional realm of spiritual enlightenment and awareness. It often involves a newfound sense of purpose and direction in life, as well as a deepening of one's spiritual practices and beliefs. Following Edgar Cayce, the mind-body-spirit connection is very important. This perspective recognizes that the health of the body is intimately connected with the health of the mind and spirit, and vice versa. For example, stress or negative emotions can have physical effects on the body, while physical illness or injury can have a negative impact on mental and emotional well-being. In order to achieve holistic well-being, practitioners of spiritual psychology may work with individuals to address each aspect of the self. This may involve a variety of approaches, such as mindfulness practices to cultivate greater awareness of thoughts and emotions, physical exercise to improve physical health, and spiritual practices, such as prayer or meditation, to cultivate a sense of connection to a higher power. Through mindfulness practices, you may notice an increase of intense energy as your awareness heightens and you become more connected to your thoughts and emotions.